And up next we have Benjamin Lang. Benjamin is currently in charge of the expansion of Shopify in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Who's familiar with Shopify? Yep, I thought so. So Shopify, most of us will know, he was previously in charge of Shopify Northern Europe, and he's based in the Netherlands. Previously, he opened and scaled companies in the French market. He worked for companies like Molly. Molly, we heard before. We have some fans in the room as well. And the Next Ads. And he's also a former Olympic rower. I mean, that takes some discipline. So I can only imagine what he brings to work for that. He participated to 2 Olympic Games and has won medals at different world championships. I think that's a great extra fact. He's now going to talk about reach, frequency, yield, the keys to SaaS ecosystem success. Give a huge round of applause for Benjamin.
Reach from desire, mind and senses purified. Reach from desire, mind and senses purified. Reach from desire,
thank you.
Mind and senses
Hi everyone, how is everyone doing? You're doing good? Yes? Cool. Thank you for being here. I know it's sunny outside, which doesn't happen that often here in the Netherlands, let's be honest. So being here with me is really nice, so thanks for attending. Yes, I'm going to talk about a topic that I dearly love, the topic of how to build a strong ecosystem, right? A strong ecosystem is something that is really important because, as you heard, I did a bit of sports before, and no one wins alone, right? When you want to win, you have to have a strong team around you, and for great companies, great SaaS companies, an ecosystem is a key to success. Great product is allowing you to go fast. A great ecosystem is making you unstoppable, right? So that's what I'm going to talk about. And I have 4 slides, something like that, so don't worry, I'll be straight to the point. One thing that I wanted to discuss is first why an ecosystem is super important. Often what we think about when we think about ecosystem, we think about a lead source, right? Partner ecosystem is a lead source. Yes, that's the one obvious commercial layer that an ecosystem is bringing. And you're like, okay, it's bringing me lead, it's helping me sometimes to convert better because they are bringing more knowledge to the deal funnel, let's say. It's also amplifying my marketing messaging because you have more folks talking about your solutions. It's also helping you localize your marketing and your footprint. So having a strong ecosystem is definitely helping you to have more impact on the marketplace and raise awareness around your brand. It's also helping you to be more impactful on your messages, right? One key element also is on the product side. It helps you to build an ecosystem around your product, right? So often we have that roadmap that is developed, right? And you need to have strong partners around you that will push you to innovate, that will help you to complement your solution. So the more partners you have around you, the better, right? But like having a large ecosystem doesn't mean to have a strong ecosystem. And that's what I'm going to talk about now. So at Shopify, we have quite a large ecosystem. We have 100,000 partners in our ecosystem. So it's really a large ecosystem, and we have 4 times more partners than our closest competitor there. So our go-to-market is heavily relying in partners, or with partners, right? Without partners, we will not have the 40% growth year over year that we currently have. So we're really bold on partnership. And if you ask our Chief Revenue Officer at Shopify, what is his commercial strategy, on the first line, he says partnership. But it's not just once, it's partnership, partnership, partnership. It's actually written 3 times. Why? At Shopify, we are 10,000 employees, and we don't want to be more than 10,000 employees. But we still want to grow 40%. My target is still growing 40%, right? So how do you do that, right? Indeed, AI, we heard the nice presentation before around the power of AI, so we all have agentic teams and all that, but the force multiplier is your ecosystem, right? The more partners that are well onboarded, that are impactful, the better you'll be, right? Because if we have 100,000 partners, and let's assume that we have like 20 people per partner working in those companies, means that you have potentially 2 million people working for us indirectly, which is an amazing thing. But I'm going to correct myself. They are not working for you. They are working with you, you know? And the key to a healthy ecosystem is your capacity to make it a two-way street. I want to talk about one tool that we are using that I think is a simple tool that works pretty well. That's the RFI model, reach, frequency, and yield. Who in the room is aware of that model? Okay. Well, then, not many. The reach frequency model is a simple model where you're going to have on the reach is the amount of partners that you have that you're in touch with, right? The frequency is the amount of deals that your partners are touching with you, right? And the yield is the revenue per deal you're getting, right? So depending on the level of maturity on your ecosystem you have, you will push one or the other pillar more, right? So for instance, you're entering a new market, you're like, okay, I want to create the infrastructure of my success, which an ecosystem is about, right? So the first element you're going to do is to push on the reach, right? So you're going to incentive your partner manager to get more partners on board, right? And you're going to push them to add more and more. And then at one point you'll be like, yeah, but you know, we need frequency, so we need deals coming our way there, or that we can attach our partner with, right? So the frequency becomes more important as your maturity evolves. At what point you're like, yeah, but having a lot of deals is good, but if it's not generating revenue, it's not worth it, right? So then you're reached that moment where you're mature enough, and you're like, okay, now I need to focus on revenue. And then by focusing on revenue, you lose sight of frequency, and you lose a bit sight of reach. So you're like, okay, so you always need to maneuver that, and the level of maturity you have as a business and as an ecosystem is something that you can play with that model. A few do's and don'ts just to make it quite actionable for you. The first element is to indeed assess your ecosystem maturity. If you have a super mature market, mature ecosystem, you will not push the same pillar there, right? You will not incentivize your team the same way. You will not incentivize your partner the same way. Your partner program will not be the same, right? So that's really important to know, and it's also really important to map the different partner types you have. At Shopify, we have tech partners, we have investors, we have web agencies, we have system integrators, we have a lot of different partner types. We have some partners in the room as well there. So all those partners are playing in different types, right? They are filling different gaps into our partner map, you know, and the idea is to make sure that we have the most complete map as possible, because this is how we bring value to our merchants. So assess your current ecosystem maturity, map your partner types and their interconnection. I said that it's a two-way street, but actually it's way more than that, right? For instance, what we're pushing to our partners is the fact that they are going to be more profitable if they are working with Shopify, but we need to prove it, right? The reality is that working just with Shopify doesn't increase your profitability, but working with Shopify, with SendCloud, Klaviyo, all the partners, tech partners that we have around us are adding service lines to the P&L of our partners there, and that's how we reach profitability and growth for them. So really, like, understanding that it's not just a two-way street, actually. It's a two-way street on the fact that you need to treat them as equal. You know, they're not working for you, they're working with you, they are helping you, and you're helping them. That's super important. Indeed, don't forget about the other pillar, right? Like, it's obvious there, but if you over-index on reach and you add loads of partners that are not yielding anything, then it's just your customer acquisition cost will go through the roof, and you're not going to create the success you want. So really try to balance the different pillars depending on your level of maturity. And it takes time, right? It's not something that will yield results after months. It would take a bit more time. So you have to be prepared to invest 1, 2, 3 years on that before you reach a level of maturity that is actually providing results. But when you reach that moment, that's a machine, right? That's a real machine. Like, the vast majority of the deals we are getting are coming from our ecosystem at Shopify, and we want 100% of our deals to be partner attached. So that's really important to us. And when you have the infrastructure, it's an infrastructure of success. It's a machine. And one thing that is really important as well is that an ecosystem is by definition super fragile. It's not something that you need to play with the wrong way. And it's hard to do because you have your own priorities, they have their own priorities, and sometimes that doesn't align. So it's really important to treat them with the right level of respect. It goes without saying, but I'd rather saying it, right? It's really important to try to bring value and not look up to your partners, right? Or look down to your partners, there. It's really important to be treating them as equal with their own business objectives. And try to think about value exchange. How do we bring value to you? How do you bring value to us, right? If you forget the value exchange element and it becomes more of a one-way street, that's when things start to turn bad. So yeah, those are a few elements around the reach, frequency, and yield. I wanted to add another slide because why not? And to talk about when you have your ecosystem, how do you actually deal with one partner specifically? How do you create success with a specific partner? So I took another model that is, I wanted to put, it's not rocket science in there, but because I think it's fairly obvious, but I think it's important to remind ourselves sometimes those elements. I think when you're dealing with a partner, the first step always is to identify your ideal client profile. Their ideal client profile, your ideal client profile, right? If you are not going through that lens, your partnership is doomed to fail because you are not servicing the same audience, right? So understanding what is the overlap between your ICP and their ICP is super key. And the power of that it then brings you an addressable market, right? And the more tight you are with your ICP, the more precise you are with your TAM. You can name those ones. You can say, actually, I'm saying a stupid example, we're targeting people who are selling boats in London, right? Quite a niche market, huh? But you're like, okay, well, it's 10 companies. Okay, 10 companies, we know what they are, we know what they do, we know what are the stakeholders within that, we can invite them for a dinner, and then you move to the go-to-market. In terms of go-to-market, it's way easier to organize a dinner with 10 folks rather than organize like 2,000 fairs, right, where you hope to touch them, right? So your go-to-market is way more tactical, way more custom, and where you are going to bring way more value as well because you own that niche and you have an IP and intellectual properties on that niche. So for me, that's ICP to TAM to GTM, a lot of acronyms, ideal client profile, total addressable market, and then go-to-market strategy is a key element. Indeed, it's not sufficient for your success, right? You need to add a few layers. One of the key layers, for instance, we are working on a lot at Shopify is making sure that we are providing the right layer of enablement, right? So if you're not really helping your partner to understand you better and getting to understand them better, yeah, it's really hard to make it work, right? So like that enablement piece is really important. One thing that we do as well that I think is great, that's something that I've pushed, so that's why I think is great, is the fact that we are doing a P&L workshop. So we're engaging with a partner, we are opening our P&Ls, and we are looking at them, and we're like, okay, you're currently working with that technology, your service lines are that, your cost structure is this, your processes are that, right? How can we help you become a key driver of your growth, And how can we 10x your output in revenue? What will it take? How can we make it happen in your P&L? And so we have that workshop where we're going quite deep and we say, well, if you're working with Shopify, high chance you will need less back-end developer, for instance. It will be a bit more front. You'll be able to add different service lines there. The profitability usually is that percentage. The margin are that, right? And then you help them to project themselves there, and there you bring value to them, right? Because then you have something concrete with a proven track record of things that you've worked on in the past, and that brings value. So I think it all comes down to bringing value to your partners. So yeah, a few things to do and don't do. Invest time to create the right foundation. I think it's always important. Often partnership can be opportunistic approach. I'm like, I have a deal, I have that partner, yeah, let's make it happen. But I think it's important to step back sometimes and say, well, that deal could be great, but is it core ICP? If it's the first deal we are making, is it core ICP? If it's not, then it means that we will not have a proof point of our success that we'll be able to put in our marketing engine to generate upper funnel traction. So don't rush in a first deal. make sure that it's fitting your ICP, because then you can really use that in a marketing funnel way more. Challenge your ICP, have loads of conversation with partners, and the main thing I'm hearing is that we are great at complex stuff. Define complex, define stuff, it's really hard. So we need to be able to challenge the ICP to really nail it down. So what are the 3 clients that you got with whom you felt like you brought a lot of value? Really going deep in that is super important, but you need to do that as well with yourself. Like, it's really great to be able to say, yeah, my ICP is everything fashion, doing like a 10 million plus. It's way too large. Your go-to-market will be spread too thin, except if you have millions and millions and millions to spend on that, you spread too thin. So challenging your own ICP, challenging their ICP, I think is a key element. I said it, don't rush to the first opportunity, not align with your ICP, I think that's important. And try never to disconnect your GTM to your addressable market. Also, same logic, right? If you have your go-to-market that is predict too thin, then you don't have the impact you want. Customer acquisition cost, I think we all agree on that. It's tough right now, right? We need to be smarter, and to be smarter, we need to bring more value. So that connection between ICP, TAM, and GTM has to be never broken. So yeah, those are some of the do's and don'ts that I see to manage an ecosystem the right way, or that I hope will help you to manage your ecosystem the right way. So thanks for listening to me, and have a lovely day.